If you're someone who's very focused on receiving consistent cash flow from your investments, then there's a portfolio that I believe is perfect for just that, and one that's definitely worth considering. Now, this is a 3-fund portfolio that consists of 2 derivative income ETFs for that monthly income, and the third one is a very classic low-risk long-term dividend ETF. So the ETFs in this portfolio are JEPI, SCHD, and QQQI. And obviously, the more you invest or reinvest into these 3 ETFs, the more income you can make every month. And as you grow this portfolio, you can get to the point where you're making $1,000 consistently in monthly cash flow. And what I really like about this 3-fund portfolio too is that each ETF has the same purpose of putting a lot of money into your pocket, but they're all very different in their own unique way. So JEPI is the first one, also known as the JP Morgan Equity Premium Income ETF. And currently it's yielding right at 8% a year in dividends. And of course, those dividends or distributions are paid out every month. So JEPI is one of the derivative income ETFs, of course, primarily focused on paying out those monthly distributions with just a little bit of capital appreciation. So not including the dividends every month, it does still grow a little bit because of all of the holdings in its portfolio, but then it pays out income every month by selling call options through what's called equity-linked notes. And I know that might sound a little confusing, but the most important part is that it pays out consistent income every month, plus a little bit of capital appreciation, equaling a total yearly return of around 7 to 10%. And with it being an income-focused ETF, the volatility is much lower with less risk than even the S&P 500. This brings me to the next income-focused ETF called QQQI, or the NEOS NASDAQ 100 High Income ETF. And what I like about this fund is that it really is a dividend income machine with around a 15% annual dividend yield. Now, this fund is similar in ways to JEPI, but there are a couple big differences as well. What's really interesting about QQQI is that 50% of its portfolio is just holding regular NASDAQ 100 stocks, along with the traditional QQQ ETF. And then the other 50% is actually selling call options on the S&P 500 or the SPX index. So it's a really interesting blend between both the NASDAQ and the S&P 500. And because of its strategy and how much you're getting in dividends every month, it's also a little bit less volatile than the S&P 500. So if you look at its 6-month return, comparing it to SPY, it's up over 2% higher when you factor in dividends reinvested. So it's a really powerful dividend ETF that's going to pay you a ton in cash every month that you can reinvest right back into this portfolio and keep that dividend snowball rolling, or just use that cash for whatever you want. Which takes me to the third and final dividend ETF that I'm sure a lot of us know very well by now because of its popularity. It's SCHD, or the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF. Like it says in the name, this is not a covered call ETF. It's a simple dividend equity ETF, meaning it only holds well-established US companies in its portfolio that have a really strong track record of paying consistent dividends. And because of that, its dividend yield is right around 4% as of today. Now, another difference between SCHD and the other 2 ETFs that we just mentioned is that it pays out its dividend every quarter rather than every month. But as I mentioned, you can use those monthly dividends that you're getting from this 3-fund portfolio to reinvest back into SCHD to increase your quarterly dividend payments. Another thing that a lot of people love about owning SCHD is that its expense ratio is extremely cheap. It's at 0.06%, which is of course the lowest of the 3, with JEPI's expense ratio of 0.35%, QQQI at 0.68%, making the average expense ratio for this portfolio at 0.36%, which in my opinion is still very low for how much income you'd be receiving every year. Now, you can definitely choose how much weighting you'd like to allocate to each fund. For example, you could do 60% in SCHD and 40% in the other 2, or you could do equal weighting across the board. But in this case, if we were to give equal weighting to each fund in the portfolio, around 33% each, your average dividend yield would be right at 9% each year. And again, that's not including any capital appreciation you might receive along the way. So just a really rock solid dividend income ETF portfolio that easily helps increase your monthly cash flow. So let me know what you guys think of this 3-fund portfolio, and if there's any ETFs that you would add or replace, and I will see you all next time.